Gentlemen, pleasure to be with you. I don't think I've got the opportunity to speak to 4 coaches, black coaches no less, at a Premier League club before, so it's a unique situation. I'm just happy to meet you all. But for those that don't know you, do you want to introduce yourselves and tell us what you do at Wolverhampton Wanderers?
Yeah, I'm Jon Hunter-Barrett. I'm the head of coaching and football operations. So I'm responsible for literally all football-related activity from our pre-academy, so under-7s and under-8s, right through to our under-23s. And I've been at Wolves now nearly 10 years.
I'm Wes Hughes. I work with the under-15s and 16s at Wolves. I'm now the sole lead for the 15s and 16s, and still obviously got quite a big responsibility for that group.
Marc McLaren. I've been at the club about 6 years now, just over 6 years. I work within our foundation phase, so working with players from under-8s through to under-12s, but I'm the lead coach for our under-11s group.
Darius Vassell, I coach the under-15s and 16s with Wes. Occasionally coach the strikers as well, been there 4 years now.
Do you think, in one word, do you think that race has negatively impacted your career in football at any point? In one word. Tough question. Don't know.
I would say no, for me.
I wouldn't. It's hard in a one word, to be honest.
We're going to elaborate it, but I just wanted to get your initial feeling on it.
Yeah, no.
No, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough to answer.
And you might never know. That's the reality. You might never know which rooms you've been spoken about in without ever knowing.
I think we're naturally appreciative as well of what we've been able to achieve, and it's hard to say, yeah, that was a problem when you feel like you've done something in the career as well.
You say it's difficult to tell whether it's been negatively impacted by your race, but have there been negative moments, experiences in there linked to your race? Yeah. Yes. So everyone can say yes to that. So that one's far easier. Can you tell us?
I
about
remember the incident which comes to my mind is an England under-21 game. Teammate Emil Heskey, I'm saying I'm same colour as Emil, but he experienced personal proper racism from the fans. We was away. I won't say the country because I don't remember, and it's not fair to get that wrong. But we was away. The fans were targeting him specifically every time he touched the ball. So it was monkey chants, it was things like that. The funny thing is that I didn't know anything about it, and I was playing with him until after the game when the team was speaking about it, trying to see if he was all right, kind of thing. I was thinking, I got through this whole game, didn't notice it or recognise it, obviously thinking about the game, and he was going, through that.
I remember taking a group away, and I'll give it a bit of context. Before we went on the tour, as part of the pre-tour sort of meetings, we were told by the tour organisers that it's highly likely that you will have racial sort of chants and stuff during the games, and they will be directed at the players. The players we're talking about here were under 13, 14s, I think, at the time, and this was with another club, and just the fact that you're actually preparing yourself for that in a youth tournament felt strange. It did happen, and as part of the parents' meeting, we had to actually ask the parents if they were okay with their sons going into that environment. And I remember everyone was holding up their club flags and stuff like that, and like banana skins are getting thrown in our direction, sort of thing, and that was kind of like weird. Just probably one of the hardest ones I've experienced, to be honest.
I was a referee for a few years, and generally when you start out refereeing, you start on the Sunday League circuit, and I remember doing a local game. It was a cup semi-final, so I remember there was a lot of kind of tension around the game and whatnot. This one player that I knew he was a problem because I'd refereed this team a couple of times, and as the players were warming up, he had like a piece of material around his face with the eyes cut out. He was just playing around, typical Sunday League like numpty stuff. But we're about to kick off, so I've said to him, "You need to take that off." "Why, ref? Why?" He said, "You can't play with that around your face. You need to take it off." And he turned around. I don't know whether I swear, but he said the effing P word. They wear effing turbans on the red when they play. Why can't I wear this? So probably at that moment, when you reflect on things, you probably think I should have acted in that moment, but I didn't. I had a chat with the captain. I said, you need to calm down. You need to take that off. You need to calm down. Otherwise, he's not going to last very long in this game. Game starts. 2 minutes in, he takes someone out. Yellow card, straight up. So I said to the captain again, I said, you need to get hold of him, otherwise he'll be off in the next couple of minutes. A few minutes later, it was within the first 7 to 10 minutes of the game. Player goes through, he was a centre back. Player goes through on goal. He's dragged him back, pulled him down. It's probably a straight red, but I showed him a second yellow. So he turns around, he goes, you effing black bastard, like as loud as he could, right in front of everyone. And I remember I was just, almost like an out-of-body experience. You're kind of looking at yourself, you're kind of thinking, how do you deal with this? And my first initial my first thing was, I kind of gathered myself quite quickly, and I remember telling the captain that he needs to leave the park because you're playing on a public facility, right? So I remember the good feeling that I got in that situation was the opposing team really backed me in the moment, and really came to my defence. That's out of order, blah blah. And I remember he refused to leave, but because the team, and whether this is right or wrong, it's wrong, but because the team had backed me, in my head, I was just like, okay, we're going to finish this game, because I was actually going to abandon the game. If he's not leaving, I'm going to abandon the game. And then I kind of decided I'm going to finish the game, but we know which way the result's going to go. And I can say it now. It's a few years removed. So I hope I don't get in trouble. But
There are microaggressions in football as well, the language that's used around black players as well, I'm sure we're all familiar. Sometimes you watch the first 10 minutes of a commentary, might be Mikel Antonio at West Ham. Pace and power's already been said about 15 times. I mean, it's just like, have we got any sort of thesaurus here just to describe the way that the guy plays? I'm asking you to think back to your own career now. How were you described as a player?
Exactly as you said, pace, power, skillful. It happens so much, I fall in the trap myself sometimes. So if you're playing against a team that you've never played before and you see them, me personally, I will automatically assume that the black player is the one that's going to play up front. He's going to be the quick one and strong one. It's been put there, over years of playing the game. So to unravel all of that is it's a difficult prospect. And that education, it started and it needs to continue and it needs to get better.
In terms of your coaching experience, have you seen coaches approach young players in the same way, talking about their attributes in those ways?
My mentor always says, you do the same things, you get the same results. If you don't challenge, things will always stay the same. So I think in this concept here, we've seen instances where it's been challenged before. And those stereotypes have been brought forward. So, for example, the big kid is always the black kid, and I don't need to hear anybody say it. I just know I can look away, and I know what would be coming after big. And when it's challenged, people have got a choice. Then they're either now that they're aware that you're aware, and they're worried about what you would think about that situation, and worried about what you would think about them. And they don't want to come across in that way because, like you said, it might be unconscious or it might not be. And it's brought to the forefront and it's challenged. That's the first step for me. That is definitely the first step, is challenging it, is actually making people aware. Like, this is the effect it has on people when you are saying things like that. The black kid can never be the intelligent kid. I'm seeing where times where that's been challenged, where mindsets are changing around that. And that does help inform people when they are talking about players and talking to families, that it doesn't come across on bringing your kid in because it's a big black kid that can play up front for us.
But a term used in football a lot within recruitment and within coaches as well is project. I hear this word all the time. He's a project, he is. And it's always the big black kid. It's always the kid that is perceived to be not that intelligent, technically not that great, can't really pass, but you know what he can do? He can run, he can fight, he can jump, and then he's described as the project. I've never, in my time as a football coach, heard the word project being used to describe a white player, and that's a problem. And I've like as Jon said, it does start with that education. It does start with calling it out. So that's something that I personally have no issue doing, and I've done that. I've done that within our groups, because unless you tell someone, because we're talking about an unconscious thing, unless you tell someone, they're never gonna realise, and actually they take a step back and think, oh, actually, you know what, you've got a point there. I need to find different ways to describe these kids, or look at them in a different way.
Taking the knee came into sport. I believe it was predominantly about protesting social injustice. I think that's the conversation that happened when Colin Kaepernick took the knee during the national anthem in the NFL, America's game they call it. How important do you think taking the knee is?
It sparks that conversation, sparks a change. The incredible bravery that it takes to be the person to do that is probably the same amount of bravery it takes to be able to listen to those stories, be humble as we spoke about, and reflect upon your own situations. And I think we all need to be that, be brave. I think that's what it was. It was an example of bravery. One man willing to put himself out there to highlight a problem which does need to be sorted out. As I said before, I think it is a massive moment.
It's incredibly important for me, because it keeps the conversation going. And I've actually, if I'm being honest, I've kind of gone back and forth with it. We know Americans being very, very patriotic, very much about the flag, very much about kind of the national anthem. So for him to do that during that time, that's the reason why it made such an impact there. Over here, I think that it's important because it keeps the conversation alive.
You know, I had a recent experience sitting down in a pub watching a game, and before the game, Paul Pogba's took the knee. Some guys in the corner couldn't quite see me, sat literally across the way. This was near enough, I think, at the beginning of the season, and their comments at the time was, "What's he doing that for? We get the message now. I'm sick of this." And I took a moment to kind of think about, how am I going to deal with this situation? What am I going to do? And I sat. I went across and I asked them. I said, "What is it exactly that you are you're sick of? What is it you're fed up of?" And their answer to that was, they were taken back, first of all, that they'd been challenged, and their response at the time was, "I'm sick of being told it's in my face. I get it." And my response was, "You get what? What is it that you get? That there's racism. Okay, that we understand that there's racism, and that's, for me, one of the purposes of why they're taking the knee, because if that didn't happen, we're not having this discussion." And it's those things there that come into the education piece.
There are ex-players who've said they wouldn't go into coaching. You've all gone into coaching because they don't believe that there are going to be opportunities and a pathway for them to get to the top of the game. Do you think there is going to be for you?
I think it depends. I always go back to, what's your end goal as a coach. If that's what your end goal is, then upskill yourself more, put yourself out there a little bit more, and work twice as hard as your counterparts to get that. What we can do is give people a little bit of hope in that sense, that you can get into academy football, you can get to first team level, but it's about having the opportunity and being in the right environment for that to happen.
I think it's about information as well, because if I was to look at my background, it would have been a non-league playing background, very heavily focused on that little brown envelope at the, if we played well, and your little bonuses here and there. So for me, I wouldn't have been thinking about all these things. So where is that information being fed into our youth? And I remember reading a book, Rasmus Ankersen, The Goldmine Effect, and when he studied all the top elite performers across the world, the commonality around them being so successful was the belief. And the easiest way for you to believe something is if you can see it and it's tangible and you could potentially touch it.
Absolutely. What Wes is saying there is you need to be able to see it, and going back to Jon's point about what your end goal is, if you never see it, then potentially your end goal is never going to be a manager of a Premier League football club, because you just don't believe that you can never get there. And unfortunately, all of us can't be a Barack Obama. Barack Obama is an example of someone who saw a goal as being the first black president of the United States, but he is one in a trillion Do you know what I mean? Like he is an unbelievable example, but we all can't be. He saw that goal and he made that goal, and unfortunately he made it. And now what he's done is made the next generation of young black boys and girls believe, wow, I can actually get there. He actually did it with no influence of someone looking like him.
Just before we finish, really, I wanted to ask you all what you hope people watching this will have taken away, what they might have learned about, well, a lot of the topics we touched on.
I think personally for me, it's just that comfortability of being humble to say, what is your story? What do you want to say? You know, and being able to be comfortable to say what your own story is back. And I talk to the majority and I talk to the minority, because there's black people, there's people of minorities that sit there and don't speak up and don't say things which what happened to them because they're worried.
We just need to get comfortable with those uncomfortable conversations.
I think so, yeah.
Marc?
Absolutely. I think for me it's two pronged. Firstly, as a young black coach, is being someone that kind of can inspire other black coaches to get to where I am at the moment, and hopefully my career will continue going from strength to strength. But also on the other hand, I have my own story. I have my own experiences, and my experiences are real. I know Marc. He's not Lewis Hamilton, because Lewis Hamilton's on the big stage, Raheem Sterling's on the big stage. Sometimes you can't relate to those people. Sometimes it's easier when it's someone that you actually physically know and can touch and can talk to on a day-to-day basis. And I think that makes it more real for them then, and then they can hopefully take something away from that.
Yeah, I remember saying this to Jon on the interview actually, and it's something I use and try to relate to a lot of things. I think people forget what you say. They'll never forget how you make them feel. And I hope that people have felt something from this conversation, and whatever that emotion sparked, just spare some thought around that, and that it might be either way, but just spare some time to sort of think about how you would respond, or how you'd like someone to respond to one of your loved ones who was feeling the way that we felt at times, and our wider community.
A real tough one to follow. Tough ones to follow anyway, in that sense. I think for me it's similar to what Marc has alluded to, that I think hard work and dedication can get you places. It can, and I do believe that, and this is my own mindset and my own belief, I do believe you can achieve what you want to achieve. There's obviously a big part of that is opportunity and people to open doors for you to do that. But I do believe that you can, if your mindset's fixed in the right way to actually do it. I would also say as well, challenge the norm, whether that's people in your own community, because it's not just white people or Asian people that will have issues towards black people. Sometimes black people have issues towards other black people, or towards white people, or towards Asian people. So I'd say challenge the norm, because the more we can become educated, the more growth. You know, Wes keeps talking about tomorrow. You know, the more people of tomorrow now are going to have a better life than the ones today.
Gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure to come and meet you all, and thank you for sharing all of your experiences. And I wish you all the best with your careers at Wolves. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Marc.
Pleasure.